Genshin Impact 5.6 was announced yesterday, and notably they announced a new Chronicle banner that I thought was actually maybe kind of good this time, although I want to talk about it because like the problem with Chronicle banner is that Chronicle banner is inherently less valuable to spend your wishes on now that the capturing radiance mechanic exists essentially. So basically, if you don't know how capturing radiance works, if you lose multiple 50-50s in a row, it essentially prevents you from being able to lose more than three 50-50s since version 5.0, right? This happened to me relatively recently. I lost three 50-50s in a row, so I had a guarantee when wishing on Veressa and Shan Yun's banner, so functionally I had two guarantees in a row. And what happens is if you lose two 50-50s in a row, your third one after you use your guarantee is a 75-25, and then if you lose that 75-25 like I did, then it's a 100% chance, and you wind up in a situation where your next two 5-stars are the guaranteed banner 5-stars. And when you plan around this in particular, this is what makes the limited banner wishes just inherently more valuable, but also just on a like large statistical number level, there it is, a 55% chance of it being the featured character, right? The Chronicle banner, if you want only one specific character, which is something we'll get into in the kind of the part of why I'm making this video, then it's not as good, right? Because the base rates of the 5-stars are the same, the pity amount is the same, but there's no carryover for the guarantee, which is a big deal. Like, you should not, if you want a particular character on Chronicle banner, you should not wish on it. This is not changed. Do not wish on this Inazuma Chronicle banner if you do not have enough wishes to guarantee the character, okay? Unless you're fine, to be clear, with not being able to guarantee the character you want, because maybe that's fine this time, because of the fact that, you know, all the characters are limited banner characters on it this time, and I'll talk about the weapons too. It's pretty good this time, right? But I want to emphasize that, you know, you should have enough to guarantee, which is about 150 or 160 wishes during the 3-week period. The weapon banner context, by the way, also a similar story. It's cheaper to get a weapon on this banner if you want a particular weapon than it will be on capturing radiance on average. Getting weapons on Chronicle banner is the same pity as getting characters on like a limited banner or like standard banner, whereas soft pity starts at 63 technically for a weapon banner. On top of the base rate being higher. So that just basically makes it more expensive to get weapons on the Chronicle banner. But of course, the Chronicle banner has mostly only good weapons this time around. Weapon banner situation, if you're a highly invested player who is mostly focusing on trying to improve your existing characters rather than, you know, pulling new characters for new kinds of teams, although, you know, you still maybe want to consider, say, I don't know, pulling a Scofier for Ayaka over pulling Mistsplitter for Ayaka if you don't have Mistsplitter for your Ayaka yet, kind of thing, right? You get the point. Let's go look at the actual banners. Ayaka, Ayato, Yoimiya, Jiori, Yai, Ito, Sangonomiya Kokumi, and Kazuha. I'd say Kazuha is probably, you know, the most objectively strongest character on here, although, you know, the Shilonen has replaced a lot of the utility for him. Floor 11, right, of this current Abyss cycle has 60 enemies, and if you have a grouper, he's, you know, someone like Kazuha's really good, although Sucrose kind of, it does the same thing in that chamber, in my opinion. Most of these characters are not like, oh my gosh, highest value characters, which is not surprising, right? Like, I think Chronicle banner is inherently always going to be that. This is the banner Mihoyo is obviously doing because they're like, oh, we got to rerun these characters that are not going to make as much money. But they still got to rerun them because you just want the characters, because you like Yaimiko, like me. The fact that you can, you know, wish for Yaimiko and lose a 50-50 to Ayaka is pretty cool. And I say, like, I think that addresses a big problem with Chronicle banner, which is, you know, I wished on the last two Chronicle banners and I lost my 50-50 both times to a standard banner unit. That made the Chronicle banner feel so much worse. This feels a lot better. But that said, it's not really actually beneficial to you unless you wanted both of those units, right? If you plan on getting a Scofier and still have enough wishes for Ayaka, Ayaka will be a better unit now that a Scofier exists. But keep in mind that, you know, maybe a future Cryo DPS unit might be coming out. We don't know exactly what that kit looks like or anything, but there's a new artifact set that implies that Skirk is going to be a Cryo unit. Point being, Ayaka maybe is a more tempting character now. Maybe Ayato is a more tempting character now because of Escoffier, but do you really have enough wishes to guarantee Escoffier and Ayaka? I don't know. It probably depends on how your Escoffier wishes go, right? I wouldn't just immediately jump into this banner, right? But every one of these characters is essentially, you pull them because you like them. just because there's no standard banner characters in this banner doesn't fundamentally change the value of the Chronicle banner. This is your opportunity to get Chiori for the next little while if you want her. Same thing with any of these characters, right? As the average strength level of characters they're releasing is, you know, increasing over time, I think it makes getting older characters like this less and less worthwhile, but also maybe you just want to get constellations on Yai to keep her more relevant, right? Kokomi, I think, is a really interesting one, by the way, on this banner, because I got Kokomi on her like first rerun banner on my account years ago, and I used her for a while, but as time went on, I've used her less and less and less. Mostly because I had other Hydros that I got, right? Like I built Xingqiu to be more functional, Farina came out, Yelan, yada yada. I just found way less need to have someone like Kokomi. She's not bad by any means. I think she'd be a great unit to lose your 50-50 to if you don't have her. You know, having the generic utility for her for Electro Charge teams, for Hydra application, and her healing and whatever. I also think there's shenanigans that you can do with her, like a crit Kokomi build. You know, it might be better than you expect. I plan on making a video again about her when Escoffier releases. Ito, I think, you know, struggles a little bit in the current day. It's worth talking about the 4 stars in Inazuma 2. The 4-star characters you get on this banner will be the Inazuma 4 stars, as the same thing they've done with previous Chronicle banners, right? It's for whatever region it's for. The Inazuma 4 stars are not incredibly valuable, I would say. I don't think we need to get in depth into them. I don't think there's very many of them that have aged well. Like Kuki is pretty good still, of course. Kirabara can be good in some contexts. Sara C6, you know, might be your chance to get that. But I don't know, it's not incredibly valuable from the 4-star perspective, unfortunately. So I don't know really how to evaluate this, right? I think where this banner is technically at its best is if you wanted multiple units. And by multiple units, I mean like, say you want 4 of these characters. Because, or if you're crazy and you want all of them and you have a ton of savings. Like, there's some weird things you could do with Chronicle banner and how, you know, you could select Ayaka first, and then, you know, lose your 50-50 to one of the other characters in going for Ayaka, and then, like, it might be a relatively efficient way to actually get all of these characters if you want all of these characters, but that doesn't mean you should, like, actually do that. Let me know your thoughts. I think it's safe to say that this is, in my opinion, the best character Chronicle banner that has existed, compared to the previous 2, and it makes it much more tempting if you wanted a particular character already. But I don't think you should wish on this if you didn't want one of these particular characters. And by the way, next patch does not have many free-to-play Primo Gems, so like, be smart with your wishes, okay? Especially if you're looking forward to Skirk. Now the weapon banner, again, high investment thing. Uraku, Chiori's weapon is inherently a good generalist weapon because Shalonen fully enables the passive. Haran is a pretty good generalist stat stick. Mistsplitter is one of the best generalist stat stick weapons and mini sword DPS's best weapon. If you like DPSing Traveler, for example, I suspect you know, maybe you'll want Mistsplitter, right? Freedom Sworn, in my opinion, is actually pretty bad. I don't really feel like getting into it much, but basically, if you don't have the ability to take advantage of both buffs, this is just not that good of a weapon. Kazuha's signature weapon is actually Zyphos Moonlight R5, or Fav Sword, or Sack Sword, in my opinion. I do not think you should go for Freedom Sworn. If you lose to it, is it a bad Bennett, you know, stat stick 5-star sword? No. I used it a long time on Bennett and I liked it a lot, although getting the buff up on Bennett can be kind of clunky in some teams. Speaking of Bennett swords, by the way, in the worst case, Mistsplitter is the highest base attack sword in the game, matching with Aquila Favonia, of course. Those 2 swords are how you maximize Bennett's buff, right? So, like, losing to Mistsplitter would be amazing. Kind of similar story like, you know, losing to Kagura's Verity as a pretty good generalist stat stick catalyst. The only really bad weapon on here is Everlasting Moonglow. Red Torn, I think, is still one of the only, like, compelling crit damage stat stick generalist weapons. Thundering Pulse, a good weapon. The only truly bad weapon on here is Moonglow, and I think Freedom Sworn is kind of, eh. And all the other ones are quite good. Particularly having 3 compelling DPS swords is quite good. Ultimately, how much value you can get from this weapon banner will heavily depend on what kind of characters you could use these weapons on. I want to encourage people not to wish on the first day of the Chronicle banner with things that are upcoming in Genshin Impact 5.7, essentially. You don't have to spend your wishes right on the day the banner drops, right? I think people forget that sometimes. I forget that sometimes, at least. So, I don't know, right? This is an interesting set of options for Chronicle banner, right? Wherein losing your 50-50 isn't something that feels nearly as bad statistically, most likely. But ultimately, it's going to really depend on your priorities on your account, how much wishes you have saved, what you're looking forward to in the future. Chronicle banner is still inherently less valuable to spend your wishes on than the other normal limited banners. That is an important thing to keep in mind. This is the best Chronicle banner that has probably existed, but it does not fundamentally change the formula for Chronicle banner. I personally feel that if they really want to make Chronicle banner valuable, and I think if they did this, it would cause me to like seriously consider, I don't really care about getting anything past C2EI personally, but if Chronicle banner, say, had 50 pity instead of 75 pity, or let's say 55 soft pity, so 20 pity less for soft pity, and then like a 1% base rate for 5-star acquisition, honestly, that'd be like, okay, how expensive really is it for me to just make a video doing some stupid wishing to try to get C6 Yai? Because, like, I've played Yai for like 3 years at this point, right? I got her C2 without having to spend any money because I got lucky on her first rerun banner. Maybe I deserve saying you deserve something is stupid in gacha games, but like you get the mentality that I'm coming on with here, right? Where wishing for Yai, right, on the Chronicle banner versus like a normal limited banner just doesn't feel very good when those wishes could go towards capturing radiance things. But if the cost of getting Yai copies on Chronicle banner was significantly lower, then okay, that's a little bit different of a story, right? And that's why I suggested like the 55 as soft pity and a higher base rate for 5 stars for more chances of earlies, right? Like it would cause a lot more like positive social media posts of people being like, oh wow, I got lucky on Chronicle banner. Look how worth it was for me to get my Yai Miko or something. And maybe more people would consider, getting Yai, and like, more people would appreciate this character, yada yada, if it was easier to acquire her. And it's not like I don't feel like people are going to spend so much money on Chronicle banner that miHoYo, I don't know. I think there's something to the idea that if they made, 5 stars easier to acquire on Chronicle banner, such that it wasn't just objectively worse value wish for wish on Chronicle banner versus limited banner, if these characters are less valuable now, they should be a little bit cheaper to acquire. Is kind of my overall vibe. I think the balance is not there, is what it is. This kind of just feels like a structure that is predatory for the few people that really want these characters. So I don't really know how to feel about it, right? But if you were waiting for Yai to rerun, or whoever to rerun, this is your opportunity to get them, right? And it's just the same shtick as normal, hopefully with the only difference of don't rely on winning a 50-50 and saving your guarantee for the future, because there's no such thing as saving a guarantee for Chronicle banner. You're gonna have to make sure you have 150 wishes. That's my yap. Hopefully it was helpful. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you are planning to wish on the Chronicle banner, or your thoughts on if this changes anything for Chronicle banner. Mostly this is just Chronicle banner as normal. I doubt I will be wishing on this Chronicle banner, but as someone who is missing, 4 of the characters that are on this Chronicle banner, it is a more tempting one, but I don't have any like particular need or desire or video ideas for me to like make on these 4 characters, so it's just kind of like, right? Again, like if it was like, oh, much cheaper to get copies of Yai, and I could wish for Yai and lose some 50-50s to Ayaka, Yoimiya, Ito, and Ayato along the way of getting Yai copies, again, it'd be so much more amazing. This is all statistics and numbers and garbage. I hope miHoYo is open to changing the Chronicle banner in the future still. Making it so that standard banner characters aren't on there is a good thing. But it's a really minor step compared to the overarching problem of wishing on it just being inherently less valuable.